Hey everyone, welcome back to Random Studios. My name is Ken and we are here with our first random coding challenge. So for our first challenge, I wanted to test how random a random function actually is. I'm going to be using Visual Code as my IDE and I'm going to be using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript for the program. In JavaScript, the actual random function is Math.Random. Do the air quotes because technically speaking, if you look up the definition of random, it's not planned. So anything we create with lines of code is not going to be inherently random. And that leads me to testing the actual function itself. I want to know how random it actually is. So my plan is to build this program, and then once it's built and once it's finished, I'm going to roll a dice by hand and compare both results. See which one seems more random or if they're both equal, because that's really the point, right? We're trying to get the code to be as random, if not more random, than you rolling a die, right? Or picking a card out of a random deck. So that's the project we're going to be looking at today. Now, with every project, I like to start with a written out diagram. It helps me plan ahead, and it really helps me think through my project while I'm doing it. So I'm going to bring these over. Let's bring these over. No, don't make it small. Don't make it small. We want to bring it over. I have 4. Let's line these up. No, stop. Don't make it small. What did I say? Don't make it small. Okay, let's start with here. All right, so I broke these into parts. So first we have the HTML, then we're going to have the CSS, and then the JavaScript. And then the final one is just a little diagram. Please bear in mind that I can't, my handwriting is atrocious. So forgive me for that. And so is my spelling, so I apologize. But this is the HTML. So this is what we're going to start with first. I'm going to try and create the HTML first. Things we need are a generic template. So I'm going to build the generic template. I don't have one. I mean, I probably have one saved somewhere. But I'm going to build the generic template. And basically, this is just like your tags, your HTML tags, your body tags, your footer tags, all that kind of stuff. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, I am going to explain everything once I type it out. So don't worry about that. So the generic template is just your tags. Basic tagline that an HTML needs to bring up a blank page on a web browser. Also, I wanted to change the icon and the title just for fun. I wanted to add a couple more things in there, so we're changing the icon and the title, and I'm realizing now my green screen is going banana hammocks. Hold on 1 second. Give me 1 second. Can we change? No, that makes it worse. Okay, let's try that. If I move... Oh, okay, okay, it's going to be impossible for me not to move. We'll see how it goes. Okay, so I'm going to change the icon and the title. Now I'm going to keep checking on the webcam. I want to change the icon and the title. So if we look at, I have Firefox here. Okay, so I'm just here at Amazon, and this is on Firefox. So when I say I want to change the icon and the title, that's going to be this. So I want to change this icon right here and the title as well for what you see when you log on. So that's what we're going to change there. Let's minimize that. So we're going to need a space for the message to display. So on the web page, it's got to be some kind of box or circle or whatever we want. I'm probably going to go with a generic box. But within that box is where the message is going to be displayed. All right. We also need to create a button. So when you hit the button, the random numbers come up. And then finally, we're going to comment. I comment everything. I think commenting is the only way to figure out what code is the next day, because I can't tell you how many times I've written pages of code, went to bed feeling great. I'm like, oh, this works awesome. I wake up the next morning, I go down, and I'm like, oh, it still works, but I have no idea what any of this means. So I comment, very important, comment. Okay, so that's HTML. Then we're going to move on to the CSS. I don't know why I got rid of that, because I'm going to need that. My green screen is going crazy. I apologize. So CSS. So for the CSS, we're going to add the background color to the web page itself. I'm probably going to go with something like black, or I might go with a crazier color. But I might stick with a solid, just plain color, just so you can see the message. Black background with white or yellow letters might look nice. We'll have to see. Design changes to display box. So that box that I was telling you about where the message is going to go in, I'm going to change it up a little bit. Maybe I'll add a shadow to it in the background or give it a nice frame. I'm not sure. I'm not going to go too crazy because I'm only giving myself a couple hours to do all this. The whole purpose of this is to get better, right? So I'm going to give myself a couple hours and see what happens. And then finally for CSS, we're going to design the button. So now in HTML5, you can just create a button and it'll give you a generic button. But there are a couple things I would like for the button. For instance, when you scroll your mouse over it, I would like it to change colors so the person knows. Or maybe not when you... I don't know. I haven't decided yet. Maybe I can't tell if when you highlight or when you click on the button. I'm not sure which. My green screen. I gotta stop moving. I can't stop moving though. Yeah. So we're gonna design the button. Let the user know when they're either highlighting it or clicking it, and then again, comment, comment, comment. Finally, once we're done with the CSS, we're gonna move into the JavaScript, and this is the bread and butter of the programming. So, in JavaScript, we're gonna create the variables. So now, the way I'm picturing this running, we're gonna have variables A through E, which is 5 variables, and each variable is gonna shoot us out a random number. Every time we click that button, it's gonna shoot us out a random generated number between a set 2 numbers, so like 0 through 10, 0 through 100, and each letter is going to have a different number. This way we're getting 5 different random results at once, instead of having to keep clicking the button. We're going to use Math.Random, which is a random function for JavaScript, to generate the variables between A through E with a random number. So that I just explained. And then on press of the button, we're going to run the random function and push the results to the message box. So one of the problems I had earlier on when I first started programming in JavaScript and HTML, CSS was getting, and it's probably going to sound ridiculous, getting my output into the HTML. It was slightly confusing, so I wanted to make sure we get that accurate on this so anyone who's having trouble with that can see it. And then finally, once again, comment, because comments are the most important. And then this is a very, very rough draft of what it's going to look like. So we have the web browser here. So we're going to change the icon and the web name. We're gonna make a title up here. This is the display box with the messages inside, and this is the button. So this is what our outcome. I want our outcome to look like. So now this is going to be a little sporadic. I'm thinking, oh, do you like Chandra from Magic? Check out the videos. I'm doing terrible, but you might like it. So this is probably going to be pretty sporadic. I'm using Visual Code. I'll leave a link in the description to how to download Visual Code. And then what I plan on doing is I'm going to write some code and then come back and show you the code and explain everything. And then I'm going to go back to write some code because I feel like if I sit here and type it out, everyone's going to get bored. That's another reason why I'm using the webcam, because I figured if you have something other than just code to look at, maybe it'll be less boring. Because I know I love coding, and it's like a giant puzzle that you have to solve. But I know not everyone is into it, and I figured for those who may want to dip their toe in but are a little uneasy about the whole process, I figured the webcam and doing this structure will help ease them into it. So I'm going to start up Visual Code. It's already started up, but I'm going to get Visual Code up. I'm going to type out my generic template for HTML, and then I'll be back with the comments to explain everything. Okay, so we're back. I'm also hoping, I apologize if you hear the landscapers. Today they're not supposed to be here, but apparently they're here. So I apologize for that. This is the generic type I'm going with. There's still more things you should add, like a footer and a title and all that stuff. We'll add some of that later on. Also, I wanted to explain. This may look a little crazy. I'm using GitHub, which we're going to get into a little later. We're going to touch on. We're not going to get full blown into it, but basically, GitHub is a place where you upload any coding projects that you want, and they'll save it to their servers, and then I think it's usually used for collaborating with other people, so you can edit things at the same time. I'm using it for 2 reasons. One is a digital resume, put it up there so future employers can look at it, but 2, so you guys can look at this code. So before I go any further, I wanted to point out that if you're following along with me, you can go, there's going to be a link in the description about how to get to the GitHub, and I don't know if you can download it. I'm pretty sure you can copy and paste the code though. All the code that's here will be on the GitHub. So that's something, if you wanted to work side by side, you can go there right now. You can pause the video, go there right now, bring that up, and then come back to it. So first off, actually I have to change that. That's gross. There you go. No. There you go. I like things even. Should be even. All right, so first off, you see this whole mess right here. What is this? So this is commenting. What I mentioned numerous times in the beginning of this video. So commenting is a way for you to write things into your code that the web browser and the computer will completely ignore. So to make it a little easier, because you might not be able to tell from here, to comment, all you have to do is that. So this is a comment, okay? And you can break it up like this. So to start a comment, it's this little section right here. You got the, is that less than or greater than? Pac-Man. I think that's greater than. You have the greater than symbol, exclamation point, and 2 dashes. Anything in here, anything you type in here will highlight, if you're using an IDE, will highlight in green. That means the computer is going to completely ignore it. And you end it with 2 dashes and a lesser than symbol. That's how you comment. And then to do multi-lines, you just, you just enter and it goes under and then you can keep typing. Each language is different. I believe it's Java and C++. I know Java is that. And then you can type, but this does not work for HTML. So if you did this, the computer will not ignore that and you'll have a lot of problems. So that's mainly why you need a comment for a computer language, is because if it doesn't ignore it, the computer's going to try and make sense of it and it will throw errors all throughout your code. So this is coding. This is commenting. You can use it also next to it, which I probably will do, but I always like to put a beginning here, explaining what we're doing, and then putting my tag here, just so everyone knows where it's coming from. Anything I'm putting on GitHub is free to use, free to. You can download this, manipulate it, and do whatever you want with it. I don't care. I'm doing this more to show other people if they want to dip their toes into programming, what it's like. So have at it. So under here. Actually, I didn't comment any of this. I'm sitting here talking about commenting, and I didn't comment any of this. I'll be right back. Okay, so my original plan. Oh my God, the green screen! Please stop, green screen. Please stop. What if I stand backwards? Oh, but now it's like even worse. I don't know. I was gonna comment everything, but I feel like it's better if I explain it without comments, because if you put too many comments in your code, it starts looking a little as you can tell here. So I'm actually going to delete these, and then we'll go over them one by one. Okay, so I deleted the comments. Let's take a look at these one by one. So you have doctype HTML, okay? So this is essentially letting the web browser and the computer know that the document type that you're using is HTML. We're actually using HTML5. So that's all this is. You have to put this in, and I mean, you don't technically have to put it in. It'll work. I recommend putting this in, because it will technically work, but you may run into problems later on. So all you got to do is put doctype HTML with the little brackets. That's the tag, and it lets the computer and the web browser know that you're using HTML as a document type. The next is language. So this is metadata. So this is all really, if I remember correctly, this is all really for the metadata. Basically what metadata is, it's information about your website. So I think Google, I know all the web browsers use Google, Bing, whatever search engine you're using, and it tells the person like what language you're going to. So this specific line is telling the person that this HTML language is in English. EN is English. The next is the head. So this is basically just the header of the website. So if we can bring up, so if you actually go to any search engine or web browser and you hit F12, the code comes up. I don't like how Firefox does it, though. Usually it comes up on the right. Okay. So, the head. If you look here, this is all the head. It has information. Don't worry about what all this says, please. Don't get scared by all this. This is just a whole bunch. It's not you. You don't need it right now. But basically, the header is going to keep a lot of things in it. You can put the title. So their title is Google, and that changes up here. We're going to get into that in a little bit. But this is where you store all the metadata and the top web page stuff. Not really the graphics or any of this stuff. All basically this stuff. Okay? So this is where you're going to put your icon. If you want to change it, this is where you're going to put your title. If you want to change that, and any metadata. So that's the head. And then we're inside the header. So now you'll see that these are kind of foothilled in. They're kind of tabbed in. You don't have to do it, but it's just easier for reading purposes. So in here, we have meta char set UTF-8. So now that's just the char set, the character set that we're using. Each symbol, each number, each letter represents a binary digit. So that is what this is telling the computer, that we're using UTF-8, which I believe corresponds with ASCII code. So that's the meta char set that you put in there. Now again, you could make a website and not have this, not have this, not have this, and technically it would run. But I like putting these in just because it's standard and because if it is going to cause you problems later on down in your website, you won't have to worry about it because you put them in. All right, so I'm going to fill out a couple more stuff, and then we'll be back. Real quick, just in case anyone doesn't know, when you add a tag, which a tag is something in between lesser than greater than symbols. When you add a tag, you always close it. To close a tag, use a /. Simple as that. So you put the name of the tag, which is pre-made, the name of the tag, and then the close is / the name of the tag. And that opens and closes it. All right, so we'll be back. Okay, so now that we got a generic template done, we're going to change the icon. All right, so let's go and change the icon and the title. We'll do both of these, and then we'll be back. So we're going to change the icon and the title. Okay, so I commented this out just in case anyone we're going through the code and you're on GitHub and you forget what I'm about to say. So essentially, what this is the line of code that's going to change our link. Now, this is extremely important because when I was starting out, this frustrated me to all end. And I feel like the problem with coding in general is when you go to online to look for help, you get a lot of help, but it's also a lot of confusing when you're starting out. So I'm going to try and do this in a way that's easy to understand. Basically, Linkrel means a relatable or relationship. Okay, so this is the relationship between your web page that you're making and the link. Okay, if that makes sense. So basically, you put Linkrel, and then in this case, this is an icon because we want to change the icon. So the relationship between this web browser the web page you're building, and the icon and the picture you're grabbing is an icon. It's an icon. It's a type. The type of it is an image or GIF, and then I have icon.jpg. So JPG. So that is what my picture is saved. Here is the thing I feel like everyone needs to see. Okay, so this is one of the most important things about when you're linking something to your page, you have to get the web address perfectly right. So what do I mean by that is right now I just have icon.jpg, right? This only works because my actual JPEG, the actual picture file, is in the same exact folder as my code. So this isn't here. So now this is saved in a separate folder. Right? So, and you have your folder hierarchy. So you can do, I don't know, coding project. Then you double click on that, and then you have images in coding project, and you double click on that. So every time you click on another folder, that's another piece of information you have to tell this. Because if it's wrong, you're not going to get anywhere. So if we look at an example, so now, if you look, this is my HTML file. This is where all my code is. And if I could open this in any IDE right now by right clicking. Git attributes, I believe, is just for GitHub. You don't have to worry about that. And then I have a README here. But this is where my website is, technically, okay? The folder it is in. So now icon is right in the same folder. So now if I try to run this right now, you see how random is random HTML, which we're going to change that. But you see my icon. Now, if I create a new folder, and I just name this pics, okay? Now I'm going to drag, come on, please. Come on, please. Please work with me. What is this? What is this? There we go. Now I'm going to grab this icon, and I'm going to change it. I'm going to put it in pics. Now watch what happens. I double click here. You have to forgive me. I couldn't open it back in Google because they already have my stuff saved. So I'd have to clear my cookies. I don't want to clear my cookies right now. So I just open it in Edge, but you'll notice there's no icon here. And that's because I put it in a folder. So now let's actually minimize Edge. We're going to take it out of the folder. With cut, noise, paste, and then let's get rid of this folder. Now let's bring Edge back up and refresh. And now you see the image there. That's a huge thing you want to look at, and it's not just with pictures, it's with anything. When you're linking something from your page or to your page, to or from somewhere else, always make sure you get the exact thing done. Now, real quick, this is going to be a very long video. I apologize if you were expecting a short video. Real quick, let's bring that back. Let me show you exactly what to do. And now let's put icon in pics. Okay, so in order to get this to work, you can't just put pics. So you're going to right click here, copy address to text, go here, paste it, and then slash. And there you go. Now you save it. And if we open it back up, even with, and now it's still there. Because we gave it the exact address it needed, so it could find the picture. Okay, so now let's move on. Let's move on to the title. Okay, so again, wait, let's get rid of that because we don't need that. Okay, so again, real quick. I apologize. I keep saying real quick, but nothing's going quick, right? Note that what I just put, the address that I just put here, I change it back to icon, one, because I put the picture back in where my file is for GitHub. But that works on my computer because that's the address of where the icon is on my computer. Once I upload it to anywhere, GitHub or whoever is maintaining the server for your website, that will not work anymore. Because it's trying to look for it through your computer, which it can't find because it doesn't have access to it because it's in the web. It's on a server. So you would have to change that, you'd have to either put the file, like we said, put the picture in with your HTML, or you'd have to get the actual bracket address bar for your server. We're going to do the title while I'm recording, just mainly so I can see if it moves my camera a lot. Sorry. So this is the only thing we're going to do together. Because the reason I'm not doing it together is for that purpose. I don't know if it's going to move my camera a lot. Let's name this how random is random, right? And then we'll do \title. Okay, so also keep in mind that when you're using certain IDEs, it automatically places it for you, so you don't want to do double up. Let's save. All we added was the tag title. And now, again, if you're having any issues with these and you still don't understand them, there's a website I'm also going to link in the description. Helped me out a lot. Still helps me out a lot to this day. I think it's called W3. Gives you great information on all the stuff I'm talking about right now. But basically, for a title, you just want to put the tag's title and then the closing title. And then whatever you put in here should be the title. So let's open it up and see if it works. And there you go. How random is random. That's it. That's how easy it is to change the icon and the title. Okay, so now let's go back. All right, so let's look at what we got here. We got the generic template down. Done. We changed the icon. Done. Change title. Boom. Now, next is space for message display. Let's make a space for a message display. All right, so now we're here. Now we're going to go under the header. We want to go in the body. Why is this so far away from the head? I don't like that. Now we're going to create a space for the message box, but we're not going to create the message box. This is the space where the box, once we design it from CSS, this is where it's going to be located. Okay, so this is a div. A div is basically, think of a div as a container, right? Now, actually, that's kind of confusing because there are containers. Think of a div like a box, okay? Anything you put in that box, you can change and alter by calling it by its div or div ID. So I named this M box using camel case. Camel case means the first letter is lowercase. The first word starts with a lowercase, and then every word after that starts with a capital. So I labeled this div ID M box for message box. So now when we call this in CSS, we'll be able to change message box to any. We can change the color, we can change the size and all that, right? So just to show you how this works, I'm going to put a P here. P stands for paragraph. And in the paragraph, we're going to put hello, okay? Okay, so let's open this and see what it looks like, shall we? So now let's have it open here. Okay, so you see hello is printed and it's printed up there because we didn't give it there is no structure to it. We didn't tell it where to go on the web page. We didn't change the font or the color or anything. I do see there are problems here because these two should not be showing up. So let's take a look here. What do we, oh, I see. Okay, so like I said, for some reason with Visual Code, they add a second little end bracket. I don't know why. There you go, they're gone. So this is what a div does. So now should we create a CSS file already? I mean, we might as well, right? Let's create a CSS file. New file. Save as. So this is how you do it in Visual Code, by the way. This is going to be in here, right? I believe so. Let's name it how random is random. And we want to name it a CSS. So you're going to look down to CSS. Where's CSS? CSS. Save. Now the IDE will recognize it's a CSS file. And then we're good to go. Okay, so now in order to link your CSS to your HTML, you have to put the link tag in. So basically all this is doing is saying, hey, I have my style, how I'm styling everything in my HTML page, in a separate file. And it's called how random is random.css. So it's going to grab all your style functions from that page. Okay, so when we go to the CSS, what we want to make sure we do is hit sharp mbox, exactly how you wrote it out, and then open and closing brackets. Now, we're doing sharp because we gave this div an ID. If we didn't give this div an ID instead of sharp, we would use a period. But we use an ID this way. It doesn't change all of our divs. It's just going to change mbox div. So now that we have that, we can... I hate when it does that. There we go. Now when we have that, we can actually add some style to our word, right? So right now, our word just says hello. It's not very fancy, right? There's no fanciness to it. So real quick, this is because we're not doing CSS right now, but I just want to put it out an example. If we do color, red, close, and we save this, the text will turn to red. Refresh, and there you go. Change it to red. So that's basically the whole setup for the CSS. I'm actually going to delete this, though. Going to delete that because we don't need that right now. So we change the icon, change the title, generic template. So we have a space for the message box. That's what the message display. That's what I didn't explain. So this div my box, I can get rid of actually hello because we don't need that. This div my box, this is going to be the space for the message box. So instead of putting hello in it and then styling hello, what I can do and what I will do is when we move into CSS, I'm going to create a box. And putting it in this div shows the website where this box is going to go. So I'm going to give it the dimensions. I'm going to give it where it needs to go on the page. It's all going to be grouped in this div mbox. So that's why we need to put this here. So this is actually, I should actually comment that, shouldn't I? So now it's got a little nice comment, okay? So now we can see that this is the message box placement in HTML. So this is where the message box that our random numbers can generate in here. And we can change the style in CSS. All right, so if we look at our page, what are we doing next? We got to create a button, of course, because we need a button, right? We need to click something and then have it do something. So let's create a button right here. No, so now, oh, see, I almost did it bad. You should always open and close every div by themselves. I would never recommend adding divs into divs unless you specifically need that for your work. But for my button, I don't want to add a div because that's going to cause huge problems in the placement of things in the website. To simplify things, since we're only going to have one button for this website, I'm just going to use the button command, and I'm going to give it a class. So under the div, I wrote button. In the brackets, I did button class, and then I gave it a name of role. And then I closed it with button. And now you see this white text right here. Anything you put in between the opening closing brackets is going to be what the button says. So I want this button to say role. So now there you go. So now we have a button. It's a little button, and it even comes with the clicky, so you can see that you're clicking it. But we want to change something, right? Let's really show what CSS can do. So now if we go here, now remember this is a button class, right? So if we go here, let's do period, role, open and close. And now we want to do background color. And let's make this red, and then close it. If we save it, and then we refresh, boom! Now the button's red. Now you'll notice it still clicks, but the color doesn't change. That's because the generic button... So how you get the color to look like it's going in, changing the actual color of the button. So when it's not clicked on, it's like a gray, and then when you click on it, it's a maybe like a whiter gray or a white. That gives you the perception of the button being clicked. Now I change it to red, so nothing is pre-programmed to switch it. So you can still see it clicking a little bit, but it doesn't look as... I think it's maybe the border that's changing, but not at the front. But we're probably not going to keep a red button anyway. I just wanted to show the CSS properties and how to use them. So now we have our button, role, our box where the random number is going to go in, and everything. I think that's it. So that is going to be it for the HTML part. We have a white background and we have role. Now we're moving on to CSS, right? So our first CSS job is to add a background color. You don't have to do this. I prefer anything other than white. So I'm going to change the background of this website. Now to do that, all you have to do is do body, open and close brackets. Now body is going to affect anything in these two body tags. So anything in between these two body tags is going to be affected. So we're going to go to body, and we're going to type in background color, and we're going to set the background color to black for now. And let's see how that looks. Let's save it, and then let's go, and then we'll refresh. Boom! Now the background color is black. Perfect, right? So now I think things will... Now that red button is atrocious. Hold on. Let's change this. Now, you also see that I'm using actual words, which you can do. They have the basic colors in actual words. Where is... Here it is. Refresh. Now it's yellow. That's better. You don't have to use just words. Oh, actually, they add... In this IDE, you can actually change them. How did I do that? How did I... Okay, I just have to leave the mouse on. Ooh, look at this! So in this IDE, you can actually change it like this. But the way I prefer to do it, I'm not going to do it now because, you know, you'd have to research. But the way I prefer to do it, so I'll grab this hex code, I'll copy it. And instead of putting this, I'll put, get out of here. I'll put sharp and then, oh, I put 2 sharps. You don't need 2 sharps. Sharp and then the hex code, save all, and then, whoops, and then refresh. Oh, that was for the button. All right, we'll leave it for the button. And it changes it to the hex color. Okay, so you can also do it that way. You don't have to use words. All right, so now that we effectively changed the background, the background color of the body. And remember now, the way that's working is because you linked, no, that's the icon. You linked your style sheet CSS file to your HTML. If you don't do that, this won't work. So you have to make sure this is 100% correct. So let's go back to CSS. Let's see what else we're looking at here. Design changes to display box. Now, this is where we get into a little bit of fun here, okay? First things first, you want to put a color, right? So let's put a background color of, I don't know, let's pick yellow. Just to be different, right? Why is, oh, because I spelled color wrong. That'd be why. Background color is going to be yellow. Now we want to put the width and the height. Don't worry, I'm going to fill them in a minute. I know, because there's nothing close. All right, so the width, let's try 250 by 250. But, okay, so you have 2 options. You can do pixels, which is, you know, the little dots that make up the screen. Or you can do percent. I like to do percent in this case because I wanted a certain percentage of my website. And that automatically makes the this section of my website responsive. And I'll actually show you what the difference is. So let's do pixels. 250 pixels by 250 pixels, right? And let's save it. And refresh. All right, so now we have a box. Now, whoops. Now we have a box. But we need to make it bigger to show my point of cross. Okay, so let's do this. Let's make this 500 by 500 pixels. Let's see if that's big enough. Actually, let's go crazy. So we refresh it, and this is our box. It's 1,000 pixels by 1,000 pixels, right? So now when you close it, though, like, the box itself is getting cut off. This is unresponsive because the box is getting cut off. So if you have stuff in this box, say you have graphics or images or text over here, it's going to get cut off. And in order to fix that, you can use JavaScript to say when the screen changes, you want to move the stuff over. And that's fine. But especially for something like this, I prefer to use percentage. And then we want to do height. The height is where you're going to set the pixels. So we'll do, I don't know, 500 pixels. Close it off. Now we're going to save it. Let's bring this back up. Refresh. Okay, so now you have a box that is 500 pixels by 50% width. So the height is going to be this way. It's 500 pixels. But depending on the web page, it's going to change 50%. Now you see it got bigger because now it's 50% of the web page. And if we shrink it, it gets 50%. So I like using percentages, and that's what I'm going to keep doing. But there's one thing I don't like about how it is right now. So we're going to change that. So position absolute is going to give it the position you tell it. So I'm going to tell it which way to go right. So let's go right. And let's go 25%. I feel like that's right. And then we're going to go top 25%. Now, what this is doing is giving our box the position of 25% of the screen from the right side and 25% of the screen from the top side. So if we save it here, and then we go back to here and we hit refresh, okay, something didn't work. It centered it, which is good, but it didn't work top. Oh, because percent's not here. That would be why, you silly goose. Not money sign. Not money sign. What are we doing? What are we doing here? I don't know. I don't know what we're doing here. Save all. Now we refresh. Boom! And now we have a box in the center of the screen. So now the only thing is we also want to add a title here. So let's do that actually now. We forgot to add the title, right? So we're going to have to swing back. That's all saved. We're going to have to swing back to HTML. Let's add another div. Let's close this div, okay? Let's do a header of 5. So, a header of 2. So H2 in HTML, H2 is represented by header 2, and that is just the size of the words that are going to come out. You can change that later in CSS, but for now I'm just going to do a header 2 and see how it feels. And we're going to put how random, capital I, is random. And then let's close this off with a closing H2. It's going to add one of those. Okay. So, File, Save All. Now, before we do this, because watch, if we do this right now, I'm pretty sure, yes. You see the button move? Which we have to move that button down here anyway. But you see the button move, but you don't see anything. And if I highlight it, you see it, and that's because the text is black. The text is black, and so is our background, so that's not going to work. So we have to go back to our CSS, and that's why I gave it a div ID of title, so we can change that. So let's go back here. And let's do sharp and then title, because I think it was capitalized. I think I made it right. Make sure. Yes. Oh, I spelled it wrong though. And now what we want to do here is we want to do text, decoration color. Let's do yellow. All right, so title, text declaration is yellow. Let's refresh. It did not work. I don't like that. Make it a class? Yeah, let's make it a class. All right, so let's get rid of the div. So body. All right, so we're going to add H2, and we're going to make it a class equals title. And this is how we're going to find it later on in our CSS. So we have H2. I don't like these spaces, though. I guess we should have a space in between the div, though, right? That makes sense? Oh, no, not that way. Don't do that. There we go. All right, so we have H2 class title, how random is random. So now we're going to go to here. So we are going, now we'll head over here and we'll create another class in CSS title, which is going to link to our title in our HTML. And we're going to say color, yellow. Let's make it yellow so you can see it better on a black background. We're going to save all. Now we're going to go to our webpage. We're going to refresh and boom, now we can see our text. But that's still no good because it's too small and it's way in the left. We need to change that. So let's position this. For the title, we're just copying everything that was in the inbox because we want it to stay with the inbox. So as the box grows, we want the text to stay centered and all that. So you kind of have to fiddle around with it. What I settled on is not that because that still looks off. Let's try 20 and 20. Let's do this. Now keep in mind this isn't Oh, that went worse. All right, so we need top to go back to 15, and we need right to go less. Let's try less. 15, let's do 10. So now, with everything set, we have our title, and it's going to be responsive just like the box. It goes bigger, it goes smaller, it follows. So nice, so nice. So now we have the box. Now we have to get the button down here, because this button looks ridiculous up here, right? So let's add our button. Let's go back. Button class is role. So we already have role here, right? Yes, we do. Yes, we do. So we're going to do the same exact thing. Because for this... Now remember, this is going to change depending on what you're building. But for this specific build, we want everything to stay uniform. We want the button to be under, the title to be over, and the box to be right in the center. We want them all to stay together. So we're going to do that now. We have right as 10, which I guess is fine. Top is going to have to change though, right? So we want top to be, I don't know, let's say 55. And let's see how that looks. Refresh. Oh, no. I mean, the button's bigger because it's, but that looks terrible. All right, so let's do, okay, okay, there you go. Please stop. Let's try 60. And right, we'll do 15. Refresh. We're getting there. We're getting there. We need to bring it... Actually, let's see here. If I change this to 25%, okay? That's going to make the button smaller, correct? Refresh. Yeah, that's going to make the button smaller, which is wonderful. And we want to change, we also want to change the height. Height doesn't have to be 20 pixels. Let's make it, seriously, why is this going so slow? 40 pixels. I want to change how the button looks because the button looks kind of ugh. There you go, much better. Okay, now I can get it back to, all right, so we want to go down more. So let's try 65. Oh, okay, perfect. So 65% is going to be the top, and let's do the right as what? 25%? Let's do 25%. Oh, no, way more. Let's do 50%. Yeah, that looks perfect. Okay, and it's responsive. So the bigger it is, the smaller it is. Looks beautiful. Okay, so I'm going to save this. I think I already did. So this is what we have so far. Let's check what we're missing. CSS. Oh, excuse me. Excuse me, where did you go? Oh, this is no good. My computer is going very slow right now. I don't know why. So the last we have to do is design the button and the JavaScript.